Hi, thanks for being here today. My name is Jennifer Eubank, and I appreciate you being here for our practice today. I have a nice shoulder opening practice. We'll be mostly on the floor. In fact, I think we'll be completely on the floor. We won't do any standing poses today. I'll save that for another day. And if you want, have a blanket to sit on, and if you'd like, if you have a block, go ahead and get your block and have it nearby because you might need it for the end of the practice. We'll start in a seated position. Again, I'm on my blankets for some ease and comfort, and it helps me find stability in my seat, which then lends itself to a more comfortable seat. And once you have settled into your seat, perhaps close your eyes or keep them open, it's your decision. Maybe look down at your nose and the ground and sit up nice and tall and just notice your physique, notice your seat. Notice how you're connected to the earth. And notice how stable and secure you feel in your seat. And if you don't feel stable and secure, change it until you do. And once you find it, settle into it. And we'll take a few more quiet breaths, just noticing how we feel as we sit here. Noticing our connection to the earth and to our surroundings. And as you're ready, shift your awareness to your breathing. Maybe put your hands on your belly, or maybe keep the hands on the knees, your decision. And just notice your in-breath and notice your out-breath. And try to keep the mouth closed and breathe in and out through the nose, tapping into our parasympathetic nervous system. Nasal breathing calms the body down. We'll take just a few more moments noticing our calm, breathing selves as we sit here. And then as you're ready, glide the eyes back open and take your hands out to the sides. If you want to change anything in your seat, you may. If you need to wriggle about, do so. And then when you're ready, let's do some peacocks. We'll bring the arms up overhead and then bring them back down a few times. Inhale the arms up and exhale them back down. So we pair the movement with the breath. Most people inhale as they lift and exhale as they lower, but you're certainly welcome to exhale as you lift and inhale as you lower. You can be a rebel in your yoga. There are no hard and fast rules. It's about what feels right for you. And then the next time the arms come up, let's just bring one hand down and then use an inhale to reach up and then use an exhale to curve over to that hand. And next inhale, make your way up and over to the other side and exhale and curve to this side. And we'll go back and forth using our breath to guide the movement. I like to inhale as I reach and exhale as I land and curve. These are called painting the rainbows. It's a nice Chinese yoga movement. Inhaling with one movement, exhaling with another. Find your range of motion. Find your pace. Find your breath. Notice if you're going a little deeper each time. And notice if your hand, when it comes down on the floor, maybe each time it lands in a different place. Just notice. We'll do just a couple more. Remember which side you started on and end on the opposite side. And we'll meet back in center. And as you come back to center, hands back on the knees. And take a couple of breaths to notice what's going on. And then let's change the cross of our legs, which might take some getting used to because it's not probably your most popular choice. So settle into that. Take a couple of breaths, reconnecting with a good, stable seat. And then when you're ready, bring the hands out to the sides. And then let's bring them up overhead. And then let's twist to the right. The left hand comes in front and the right hand comes in the back. And then next time, when you're ready, bring the arms and come back to center, and then go to the other side. And then let's come right back up and go back to the other side. And we'll pair this with breathing. So as you come to the center, inhale. And as you twist to either side, exhale. So you inhale as you come to center and find that length in your spine, and you exhale as you twist. Maybe each time you're going a little further, inhaling as you lift, exhaling as you twist. Hands land wherever they land. And we're looking up and over the shoulder at the horizon line. We're not looking at the floor, we're looking up. Because if I were to look down, I would be doing this. I want to be twisting up. Let's do one more each direction. Take your time. And then we'll meet back in center. And as you come back to center, bring your hands back down to your knees. Reconnect with your seat, reconnect with your body and breath, and maybe close the eyes or maybe keep them open. Take just a couple of breaths to notice what's going on. And then let's go ahead and come on to hands and knees for table position. And you can keep the blanket under your knees for support, or you can just set it aside if you have a blanket. And move back just a little bit more. Make sure you're in the center of your mat so you have ample room to reach those arms forward at some point. First things first, we're in our table. Hands are shoulder width apart, knees are hip width distance apart. I'm going to spread my fingers nice and wide, and I'm putting most of the pressure. Whatever little weight I'm putting on my hands, I'm putting it on those first two fingers, the thumb and the first finger. And I bend my elbows just a little bit. And that brings relief to both the wrists and the shoulders. And then as you're ready, curve your spine towards the front of the body for cow. Curve your spine towards the back of the body for cat. And notice the first couple I do, I don't really move my head. I'm keeping my head pretty still. I'm not bobbing my head up and down. This is not about saying yes and no. This is about curving my spine. It's spinal action all the way from the tailbone up into your neck. The entire spine is getting in on this movement. Inhaling with one motion and exhaling with another. Notice your range has probably increased a lot since you began. Notice that. Take the time to gauge your progression. And when then you're ready, come on back into your table position and reconnect with your table. Let's bring our hands forward a couple of inches and let's start to shift our weight forward and back. And we'll just go back and forth. These are called rocking horses. We shift our weight towards the front of the mat and then to the back of the mat. Each time going a little bit further, maybe staying a little bit longer, maybe extending the breath, thereby extending the effort. Feeling length occurring in the spine, feeling width occurring in the hips and the shoulders, and eventually land into stillness. If you like to keep moving, but I'm going to spend a little bit of quiet time here. This is called puppy pose. Head and hips are in the air. And then let's wag our hips from side to side. Inhaling with one motion, exhaling with another. Stay nice and rooted in your hands and your knees as you bring those hips from side to side. And then when you're ready, wag your tail as much as you like. But when you're ready, come back to center, and then eventually, if you can, make your way into child's pose and bring those hips all the way down and the head all the way down to the floor. Maybe stack the hands and put your head on the hands. You can always put your hands on your back for true child's pose. And they land right on the sacrum in between the hips. But if you want to start to come out a little bit, you can bring those arms forward in what's called extended child's pose. And today our focus is a shoulder opener. So I'd like to show you this next move. And I'm going to come back up just a little bit to get rid of my blanket because I like to do this move without my blanket. So I'm in child's pose. Arms are long. See if you can start to walk your hands toward the outside edges of your mat, and then eventually let them walk off of the mat. And then eventually maybe they can come all the way down to shoulder level, shoulder height. So now my arms are wide, kind of like in this T position. Spread my fingers wide. And if this is hard for you, maybe your hips have come up a little bit, that's fine. If you can keep them down, that's fine too. And we'll spend a few breaths here, however long you can. If you want to come back now, you can come back. But if you like this version of child's pose, it's a nice stretch for your armpits, your shoulders, your biceps, your triceps, your chest. And then when you're ready, let's start to walk those hands back, slowly but surely. Walk them back to the mat. Spend a couple of breaths back in your child's pose. And then when you're ready, use an inhale to lift back up into table. And take a couple of breaths to notice what's going on in your hips and in your shoulders after that child's pose. And then when you're ready, let's bring our forearms down for what's called Sphinx table. So we're still in table, but our forearms are down in Sphinx table. And then when you're ready, extend one leg back and then extend the other leg back and lay your body down. And you've landed in Sphinx pose. And we're going to come back to this pose, but now I'd like for you to just come all the way down. Come all the way down and stack your hands one on top of the other and put your forehead right on top of the hands. So your elbows are bent and they're about as wide as the mat, hands stacked, forehead on top. And then bring your feet as wide as your mat, the corners of your mat. This is called crocodile pose. And you can wag your tail and shake your hips from side to side. And settle into your pose here. I love this pose. And take a few more breaths, noticing how you're connecting to the earth. Now you're face down. So it's a new relationship. So we want to get used to it before we start the next sequence. So as you're ready, go ahead and bring the feet back in and bring your hands first under the shoulders and then slide them back a little bit so they're more in line with the top portion of your ribs. And I like to bring my legs really close together. We'll do some cobras. So for cobra pose, before we do it, we want to make sure we're prepared. So we don't want to just throw ourselves into the shape. So make sure your legs are good and strong, your body is good and strong, and bring your elbows in. If your elbows are out as you do this, that puts pressure on your wrists, and you use your arms for your pose. You don't want to use your arms. You want to use your core, your torso. Your torso is what picks you up into a cobra and curves your spine. And your torso is what brings your chest back down. And I say torso, but the legs also help. So my butt cheeks are nice and clenched. I'm squeezing my glute muscles in the buttocks. I'm using those thighs to help me as I lift up and as I come back down. And let's do a few of these dynamically. So after you've done a couple, let's start to put some rhythm in it. So arms in, legs nice and strong, good and short up. And when you're ready, use an inhale to lift up and use an exhale to curve back down. So we'll go back and forth. Inhale, lift the chest up. Exhale, lower the chest back down. Legs are strong. Glute muscles are strong. Torso is participating. Arms are also participating, but not a whole lot. They're just giving me shape, and they're giving me a little bit of a foundation. I can even pick my arms up. That's how much I'm not using my arms to go in and out of my cobra. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, back down. Back bends, great way to open up the chest, open up the shoulders. If you'd like, when you lift up the legs, you can lift up the chest, you can lift up the legs too, which is called locust pose. True locust, your arms are in the back, but you can do half locust, half cobra. No rules, just guidelines. Let's do one or two more. So as we start to finish, let's kind of back off, do some really mini ones. And then when you're ready, slowly lower all the way back down, one vertebra at a time. So avoid rushing coming back down. Stack your hands once again, elbows wide, feet wide. Shuffle your hips from side to side. Take a couple of breaths here. And just noticing what's going on. What are the sensations in your body, particularly in your chest, your upper back, and your shoulders? And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring your feet and legs back in and find a good foundation in that bottom half. And then bring your hands back under your shoulders and lift up. And then bring your forearms to the floor. So now we're in Sphinx pose. A little bit more of an intense back bend because you're up on your elbows. So there's definitely much more of a curve to my back bend here. But I have the ability to change that if I want to. I can start to walk my hands forward and my arms go forward, and that takes a little bit of that curve back out of it. So there are things that you can do to regulate the intensity of your back bend. And there are things that you can do while you stay here. We'll hold this pose for about another minute. So let's review all the different foundation points of this Sphinx pose. Legs are good and strong. They're coordinating a good foundation for me. They're working with my hips and my torso. And my chest is lifted. So my chest is also slightly engaged. The muscles, even in my ribs and up here my collarbones, they're all slightly engaged to hold me up, but not so much that my shoulders are getting stiff. And if they do get stiff, I constantly go back. Okay, my shoulders, I need to loosen up, loosen up, loosen up. And my hands are spread nice and wide, fingers are wide. I'm putting what little weight that is in my hands in those first two fingers, the thumb and the first finger. All these things help me enjoy this pose and breathe into it. Shoulder openers, back bends, famous for stimulating nice, full capacity breathing. Most people breathe in a very shallow fashion, and that can bring anxiety and nervousness. These poses help us breathe more deeply, and we find ourselves calming ourselves, even though we're faced with some challenge here, because this is challenging. And if you want more of a challenge, by the way, you're welcome to turn your Sphinx into a seal. I've lifted my forearms up off the floor, fingers nice and wide. Shoulders relaxed. I've really shored up the bottom half of my body as I did that. So before I lift up, I'm really careful to keep the legs good and strong, and I'm really careful to keep them good and strong as I come back down. And then let's start to slowly but surely come back out of it. Start to walk your fingers forward and stretch out your arms, and then bring your head down slowly but surely, one vertebra at a time. Stack your hands and let your forehead land on the hands, and bring the feet wide again. And shuffle your hips from side to side and settle into another crocodile. And take a couple more quiet breaths, nice long inhales and nice long exhales, and survey the land. Go through your body. Notice what's going on in your body as you hold your crocodile. When you're ready, let's go ahead and lift back up, and then let's roll over onto our backs. And as you roll onto your backs, have your knees bent, feet on the floor, and take a few moments to settle in and find comfort. Find stability and then the comfort. Notice the change. Notice your new relation to the earth and the room about you. And then when you're ready, use an inhale to bring the knees into the chest for Apanasana, wind relief pose. And let's rock from side to side, giving your lower back a little massage. And then when you're ready, come back to center. And we'll do a couple of twists. Twists are a really nice way to open up the shoulders and the chest. And you have the ability to gauge your level of intensity. So if you want a really intense twist, keep your knees into the chest. If you want less intense twist, bring the knees down. Either way, arms come out to the sides. And then as you're ready, draw your belly in and use your torso muscles to lower you down to whichever side feels right. You pick whichever side you want to start with. And once those knees come down, if you need to rearrange something in your feet, like maybe you need to straighten them a little bit, maybe you need to bend them a little bit more, you decide. And then notice what's going on in your upper body. Make sure your upper body has a good foundation to support turning and looking over the opposite shoulder. So my knees are going in one direction and I'm looking over in the opposite direction. And as I do that, I continue to settle into my foundation, spread my fingers nice and wide as my arms are nice and wide. My arms are participating in this, allowing my chest and my shoulders to open up a little bit more. And I'm breathing into it. And then when you're ready, use an inhale and shore up those muscles to bring everything back to center. And then take your knees over with control, lower them down to the other side. And once they come down, make any changes. Notice what's going on in your upper body. And then when you're ready, if it's there for you, turn and look over the opposite shoulder on the other side. And if it's not there for you, you can just look straight up. You don't have to turn and make this a full-fledged twist. It does increase the openness of the shoulders and the collarbones, which then is going to increase your breathing. Nice, long, smooth inhales followed by nice, smooth exhales. And then when you're ready, get ready to come back. So find your foundation, press into your hands and your arms and in your torso. Let's go one more time each side. So use control to lower and settle in. Take your time finding the foundation, first in the bottom, then the upper half. And as you're ready, turn and look over your shoulder and relax those shoulders and your elbows and your wrists, even your fingers. Release into this twist. Let go and use your breath to help you release and let go. Smooth, gentle inhales followed by smooth, gentle exhales. And then whenever you're ready, get that foundation ready for you. Get that breath ready for you. Breathe a little bit more deeply to carry you through this change. Now we're back over to the other side. Find your way, find your foundation, ease into it, and spend a few quiet breaths here. Let go of tension in the body, let go of tension in the mind. As you let go of tension in the mind, are you more able to let go of tension in the body and vice versa? And there you get an opportunity to understand the very vibrant relationship between the body and the mind. So we've made our way back to center. Let's spend a couple of breaths bringing symmetry back to the body. So we were just doing a lot of asymmetrical work. Symmetrical work is more quieting and more balanced. So we want to end this session with a sense of quiet and balance and ease. Maybe you'd like to turn your wind relief into a happy baby pose. Great hip opener as well as shoulder opener, because as you bring those feet towards the floor, yes, you feel it in your hips, but you can also really feel it in those shoulders. So you can kind of shift your focus in different poses to feel the effects in different places. When you're ready, we'll slowly come back out of it. Spend a breath or two in Apanasana before you bring the knees back down, and spend a breath or two here before you spread or extend the legs out. So go ahead and extend the legs out. And if you have lower back issues, you could always take the blanket and have the blanket under your knees or your upper thighs there for a little bit of relief. And we'll settle into Shavasana and spend the next few breaths. Just let your body go. Let your feet fall the way they fall. Let your hands fall the way they fall. And take a couple of breaths to notice the difference between the two sides. Because they're probably different. And we want to celebrate that slight difference between left and right. Yet see if you can make it somewhat similar. So in other words, you don't have one hand way up. You know, the asymmetry happens naturally in your body. You're trying to find a little bit of symmetry and order here. And use your breath to settle in And notice the effects of that practice. And let's breathe into our chest and shoulder areas. As you breathe, send that breath right to the areas that we just focused on. A couple of more moments focusing on the upper body as we breathe, creating space. And as you're ready, start to deepen your breathing and start to wriggle your fingers and toes. Slowly but surely bending your knees. And stay here for a breath or two. Maybe keep the blanket there, or maybe slide it out of the way, if it's even there. And take a breath or two here. And then roll to one side and take a breath or two here. And then when you're ready, press into the floor. Use the floor to help you come back up safely and organize your seat. Find your blanket if you want a blanket. Sit nice and tall. Lift your chest, lift your sternum, lift your heart, and let your shoulders widen. Let your collarbones widen. Let your upper back widen. Take a few more breaths, inhaling into that width and space. And then when you're ready, let's bring the hands together. May you be safe, may you be happy, and may you be free from suffering. And may all beings be safe, may all beings be happy, and may all beings be free from suffering. Thank you so much for your time today. Namaste.